Darkness is as important as light. The cold dark of winter is as important to life as the bright warmth of summer. Darkness is home to entire ecosystems, places where humans must learn to survive. Darkness offers us the gift of rest, healing, hope. It is in the darkness of sleep that our bodies are able to heal and rejuvenate. Darkness offers opportunities for beauty and love to live in our lives. Conception begins in the dark womb. A great prophet is born in the night. And the vastness of the universe can only be seen on the darkest of nights. Come, beautiful souls, and let us worship as we embrace darkness together. Be a time of dance with the darkness and with each other. Will you join us in singing, "Let It Be a Dance We Do"?
Hi, All Souls. Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to All Souls Church Unitarian. My name is Saul Ujoa. My pronouns are they, them, and he, him, and I'm excited to serve as your worship associate for the very first time this morning. Thank you. But as a bit of an introduction for those who haven't met me yet, I've been attending All Souls for just over 6 years, but for the first 5 of those years, I was exclusively involved in Young Souls, our community for those aged 18 to 35-ish. In the past year, I've jumped headfirst into the rest of the church: high school youth group, the Leadership Development and Nominations Committee, Roots and Wings facilitation, OWL facilitation, the new Souls of Palestine group, and I'm now a worship associate. And I love this community deeply, and it's an honor to be with you all today. In this place of belonging, you are welcome to bring all that you are: your ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability and disability, age, race, creed, religion, and all that you hope to be, whether that's an astronaut, an activist, a parent, an excellent cook, a listening ear, or one of the love people. You are welcome here. In the spirit of expanding our ever-growing circle of welcome, if this is your first time attending All Souls, or if you still feel new here, could you please raise your hand or let folks know in the Zoom chat so that we may give you an All Souls welcome? Are there any visitors this morning? Welcome. I'm so glad you could join us today, and welcome to All Souls. I turn your attention now to the connection card enclosed in your order of service. Today it is bright green. The connection card is our means of staying connected with you. Each week it will offer new opportunities for us to stay connected with each other. We want to know how you're doing, support your engagement with this community, and make communicating with us easier for you. If you want to tap into the lifeblood of this congregation, you will want to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. On your connection card, under your email is a box for you to opt in. You can consider the invitations on the card throughout the service, and our ushers will collect them during the offering. We particularly appreciate visitors filling in your mailing address so that we can send you a gift. We're so happy you joined us here today. So let us pause today to acknowledge the Piscataway tribes, the sovereign caretakers of this land now known as Washington, D.C., and the enslaved people whose lives were exploited in its making. The cruelty of these histories calls us to truth-telling and accountability. In reflecting on this past, may we find the creative emergence Audre Lorde speaks of, a liberation that demands justice, reparations, and solidarity with those who continue to resist the legacies of dispossession and oppression. And guided by the 8th principle and our commitment to building the beloved community, we affirm our responsibility to take meaningful action toward justice, reparation, dismantling systemic oppression, and repairing the harms of dispossession and exploitation. In a world that often appears to be overtaken by violence, we intentionally take a moment to covenant together, to give voice to what draws us together, and to renew the values to which we pledge ourselves. So please sit in reflection, or rise in body or in spirit, and join me in reciting our Sunday covenant. Please rise. Love is the spirit of our people, and service is our call. to build the beloved community, to seek fuller truths in love, to dwell together in peace, to offer aid and affirmation, and to tend to our mutual well-being. This is our covenant. I invite you to remain standing if you're already up, or to rise as you are able and greet one another here in person or on Zoom. Thank you.
I should probably look at the order of service. My name is Laura Prophet. I am the DRE, and I'm going to invite any of the children or anyone else who would like to come up and listen to a story to come on up. You really need a bigger carpet. Let me back up a little so we have enough room. Let's see if we can find space for people. There's a little bit of space up here if you want to sit on carpet. All right. So, before we get started, I have a question. If I say the dark, what does that make you think of? What does it make you think of? Nighttime. What's your reaction?
When I sleep.
When you sleep? Do you think, yay? Do you think, eh? Do you think neither one? Yay? So it's interesting. People have different feelings about being in the dark. So our story today is called The Dark is Friendly. Oh, how do you feel about the dark?
I feel like when I go out the door when it's morning time.
Okay. All right. The dark is friendly. Let's think about if we've thought about the dark like this before. The dark is friendly. And he looks pretty friendly in this picture. It hugs me in the night when it's time to go to sleep. When I close my eyes, it tucks in close like blankets so that I can see my dreams better. When it is a hot, sunny day, the friendly dark gives me a cool spot of shade. That is true. When I dive beneath the waves, it shows me where the clouds are. Have you ever noticed that? If you're in the water and you look up, sometimes you can see darkness and light because of the shade. It helps me hide when I play hide and seek. Very true. And it follows me as my shadow to make sure I'm never lonely. At nighttime, the friendly dark makes the moon and the stars look so pretty. And in the silence of dark, I'm able to find a safe place to fall asleep. The friendly dark is filled with lots of things I can't see, but they're the same things I can see in the day. Toys and books and pillows and trees and houses and sky. Only now, we have a game to play. Each of these things are shapes, and I have to guess what they are. Many animals know that the dark is friendly. Owls, cats, and mice slip out when the dark softly falls because they know that jumping in the dark is fun. They also know that finding food in the dark is easier. Animals play and climb in the friendly dark. The friendly dark is a cozy place when the world can seem too noisy and bright. It comes and calms me, and it makes me notice the friendly dark inside of me, where everything is quiet and where my center is. Have you ever thought about a friendly dark inside of you? Interesting. I wonder how you found that. When the friendly dark makes it hard to see, it gives us the gift of hearing and smelling better, turning us into a superhero. Have you ever been in the dark at night and suddenly you can hear all the sounds going on? Diamonds and precious jewels are only found when you dig down deep into the friendly dark. The friendly dark is good for curling up in and talking to loved ones in. Without the friendly dark, we would not have shadow puppets and fairy lights and glowworms. Glowworms would just be worms without the friendly dark. Most of all, the friendly dark cuddles us all night long until we are ready for the morning. And in the morning, when the sun comes up, the friendly dark dances with the tree branches until we're ready to play again. So sometimes the dark if you've watched TV shows, sometimes we talk about how the dark can be scary or the dark can be something that you want to avoid. But actually, the dark can be really friendly and a place where you can learn more about yourself and more about the things going on around you. And in this time of the year, have you noticed the sun goes down really early? And it's dark, it seems dark for a longer time. It is, because it's winter. But in that time, we find different things to do with our families and our friends. And we wait for it to get bright again in the springtime. All right. I'm going to invite, if you would like, if you're coming down to RE, we're going to go out that door. And we're going to sing the children out to Sia Hamba.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Anastasia Zinke. I am your developmental minister, and I use she and her pronouns. And one of my delights is seeing from up here how many children are hidden in the pews that come forward. It's such a delight, like loaves from the crowd and fishes. I have just the first announcement to share with you this morning. Announcement of celebration, which is rooted in an understanding that the only constant is change. Things change and evolve and shift, and so it goes with ministry, especially when we shift our ministries both to follow the needs of our community and also our gifts and calling. And so it has been over Reverend Rob Keithan's many years here as he moved to expand his portfolio from a focus on social justice to spiritual growth, learning, and engagement, and most importantly, the intersections of those. And so I wanted to share with you that we have changed Reverend Rob's title to the Minister of Spiritual Growth and Justice. Let us welcome him to our pulpit.
Thank you. If you've spent more than a minute with me at any point, you know that spiritual growth and justice are inseparable for me. And so it is wonderful to have that recognized in my title and to have my role here. I would say not expand, but deepen and follow my heart of serving all of you better and more coherently. So thank you. Before I highlight a few of our upcoming events, I want to recognize an important and amazing group of people here at the church, the leaders and everyone who took action with All Souls Reeb Project for Voting Rights. Now, friends, I know the election did not turn out how many of us had hoped. But here's two things to remember. First, our voter mobilization work at All Souls is nonpartisan. Our goal is to engage more people in the process with a focus on communities where there is historically low turnout and or voter suppression, and we did that. Second, we don't do this work, or really any of the work we do, because there is a certain outcome. We do it because it is the right thing to do. We do it because we are called to put our faith into action and to follow in the footsteps of our ancestors who answered the call before us. In his eulogy for Reverend James Reeb, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, quote, "The greatest tribute that we can pay to James Reeb is to continue the work he so nobly started but could not finish. We have the challenge and charge to continue." And continue we have. If you are one of the leaders in the Reeb Project, meaning you attended the monthly Wednesday meetings, you helped with organizing school, you were a postcard captain, if you did something to help organize others, will you stand now and be recognized? So stay standing. I'm going to talk about the work you did. Stay standing if you would. So thanks to these amazing folks, All Souls has reached the threshold of activities and impact that qualify us for a Good Trouble congregation, again, according to the National UU the Vote campaign. And through our regional project, UU the Vote, of DC, Maryland, and Virginia, we have more than doubled the number of congregations in this area taking action for voting rights, from 16 2 years ago to 33 this next year. Our voting campaign organizer, Jennifer Richardson, was a huge help with that. But one of the things that most of those folks credit with jumpstarting their efforts is that they came to the Reeb Project's organizing school, which was planned and led almost entirely by the volunteer leaders that are standing here and hopefully elsewhere somewhere in the world feeling recognized. So, and of course, our effort wouldn't be successful without all the people who took action. So if you took any action this year with the Reeb Project, would you rise or raise your hand? If you sent a postcard, if you made a phone call, could you send a text message? Thank you. Now y'all can sit down. So thank you for being part of this critical work. And for everyone, our effort will continue with education about DC statehood, critical elections next year in Virginia, and the year after that, national midterm elections and a mayoral race here in DC. I hope you will join us in making more good trouble. Whew, okay. Just a few quick highlights after that. Our annual Made by UU craft show is after service today and next week. All proceeds benefit our Hope Rises capital campaign. And our congregation is lucky to have many dedicated members with a wide range of expertise and experience, and we need more. So today, the Leadership Development and Nominating Committee is hosting an open house in the dining room downstairs that's directly below Pierce Hall. We invite everyone who might be curious or is definitely interested in about a leadership role here at All Souls. Meet current leaders and learn more about the openings in the coming year. Also today, our Social Justice Feds group, our support group for federal workers, will be meeting upstairs. It'll be in the Tupper Room. That's a change from what's printed in the order of service, Tupper Room, but when in doubt, just go upstairs. And looking further out, speaking of leadership, our church council will meet Friday evening, the 13th. It's going to be good for us. That is a chance to meet other church leaders and fellowship as well. And folks with kids, the link to sign up for the Christmas pageant on December 15th was in Friday's e-newsletter. Encourage you to sign up so your kids can have roles in the pageant if you like. We turn now to congregational care. starting with a special celebration. This coming Tuesday, December 10th, the Nobel Peace Prize for 2024 will be given to the Japanese organization Nihon Hindako. This grassroots movement of atomic bomb survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki is receiving the Peace Prize for its efforts to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons. Many of the atomic bomb survivors hosted at All Souls by our Heiwa Peace Project have been affiliated with this organization, and so we celebrate their well-deserved recognition. More personally, sending love to some folks in our congregation, we send healing prayers to Joe Fuhrer, who unfortunately broke his wrist and ankle while traveling in London. He is home and recovering. And we're thinking of Joe O'Connor, whose aunt passed away last week. We send love and condolences to Joe and his family. In the silence that follows, I invite you to speak aloud or type into the chat the names that you carry on your hearts this morning. Please join me in prayer. As the frigid wind last week made clear, winter is upon us. The cold and the darkness are inevitable. Great Spirit, we ask you to help us hold the tensions of this season, peace and calm, but also struggle, isolation and grief, but also connection and joy. May we hold each other tenderly in this time. May we hold ourselves tenderly in this time. Amen.
Amen. Our theme this month is honoring the darkness, language that always draws me to an essay by the Black lesbian poet Audre Lorde, entitled "Poetry is Not a Luxury." Year after year, I return to this essay, for it provides a type of enduring wisdom that points towards liberation. I'll share an excerpt of it today, but we provided links to you so you could read the whole thing later. It is short. For each of us as women, there is a dark place within where hidden and growing our true spirit rises, beautiful and tough as chestnut, stanchions against our nightmares of weakness and of impotence. These places of possibility within ourselves are dark because they are ancient and hidden. They have survived and grown strong through darkness. Within these deep places, each one of us holds an incredible reserve of creativity and power, of unexamined and unrecorded emotion and feeling. The women's place of power within each of us is neither white nor surface. It is dark. It is ancient. It is deep. When we view living in the European mode only as a problem to be solved, we then rely solely upon our ideas to make us free, for these are what our white fathers told us were precious. But as we become more in touch with our own ancient Black, non-European way of viewing living as a situation to be experienced and interacted with, we learn more and more to cherish our feelings and to respect those hidden sources of our power where true knowledge and therefore lasting action comes. At this point in time, I believe that women carry within ourselves the possibility for fusion of these two approaches as a keystone for survival. We come closest to this in this combination in our poetry. I speak here of poetry as the revelation or distillation of experience. Poetry is not a luxury.
You're invited into a practice of sitting, of breathing, of singing and chanting as you wish, a chant that reflects the darkness and the possibility therein. In the chants that we will sing, including this one, you may listen, you may sing, you may harmonize. Enter into the Spirit. We'll sing each of these chants through the service a number of times, entering into the timeless practice in cultures around the world of singing and chant.
Away.
First, I want to welcome Sunu Chandy into the pulpit with me today. Sunu is a civil rights lawyer, poet, respected All Souls member, and just a beautiful human being. Secretly, if I were to live my life over again in a dream, I might live her life. As someone who lives at the intersection of justice, poetry, and humanity, I was really interested in how Sunu might respond to Lord's essay and what a dialogue between us might look like. So welcome, Sunu. This morning, each of us are considering two questions. Why is this creative darkness a necessity? How do we connect with it? I'm going to reflect on the second question first. How do we connect with it? About 9 years ago, I earned a certificate in congregation-based spiritual direction, and currently I lead a Wednesday 9 a.m. group for All Souls members online. You could join us. The link is on our website. But here's the thing. I find that spiritual direction is a pathway to connect with the ancient wisdom, creative darkness that Lord talks about. See, spiritual connection or direction often, it can connect you to that which is ultimate or transcendent. But for me, it always also connects with that which is within, our inner teacher. In our centering practices, I often visualize going within, truly within my being, my body, and it's darker there, a welcoming darkness. This is the darkness that holds our spirit, our soul. The practice of spiritual direction is to invite one's spirit to come forward into a place of communion with your conscious thought. The second part of spiritual direction is to bring forward what we call a third thing, a prompt. For me, it is almost always poetry, because poetry uses this language of intuition, of feeling. It leaves open a window for spirit to come in and to dance with it. What emerges from this dance of spirit and poetry and life reflects all of what Lord was talking about. Somehow that mixture, that dance, breeds and mixes into what I only know as ancient wisdom, too often hidden, connection with that which is within us, that has survived and grown strong through times of darkness. It manifests as a respect for one's own unimagined and unrecorded emotion and feeling. And it helps me tap into this incredible reserve of creativity and power, potential. On Wednesday mornings, I find myself that when I'm connected to Spirit in this way, no matter how frustrated or annoyed I felt going into that morning, I leave no longer thinking about life as merely a problem to be solved. Somehow, in that dance in the darkness, I depart with insights from that source of inner ancient wisdom, from where true knowledge emerges. I leave with hope and confidence and a dream that the actions I take after will be ones of transformation, ones towards wholeness, connection, and liberation, and not just for me, but for all those connected to me. Going forward after going within, therefore, does seem necessary for how I want to live in the world. And that is how I respond to Audre Lorde's essay. Now, I'm going to invite Sunu to come forward, and I'll share that Sunu has been a part of our Wednesday morning spiritual direction group sometimes, but of course, her dance with poetry long precedes that, and she comes at it as a poet. And so I'm going to invite you, Sunu, to come forward, both to share your answers to these questions, your engagement with the creative process, and some of your original poetry with us.
Good morning. Thank you to Reverend Anastasia Zinke for this kind invitation to share the pulpit. I was, of course, all in when she mentioned poetry, and doubly so when she brought up a reading by Audre Lorde. When I first thought about this theme of darkness, I thought about inner light because I grew up Quaker. The inner light in each of us continues to be part of my spiritual grounding. I also thought about light this week when I was on a coalition call led by my friends at the Transgender Law Center. I appreciated that they took the time to have an icebreaker in the midst of all the coming work to fight the harmful policies. I was on the call representing Democracy Forward, where I'm a senior advisor. During the call, the icebreaker was to share your favorite festival of lights. I got nervous. I don't even know if I knew of that many festivals. As the participants chimed in, though, I realized I knew some of these. One person mentioned Diwali, the Hindu festival. Another mentioned Hanukkah. Another mentioned zoo lights in DC. And another mentioned zoo lights from Chicago, which is apparently spectacular, but I won't go there in the cold. When it came to my turn, I mentioned the Christmas Eve service. That moment when they turned down all the lights, and in the darkness we sing Silent Night, just with the candlelight. When I was a child, we used real candles, which was lovely, but also anxiety-provoking with so many children and all that fire. So these days, with the fake candles, it's one of the most peaceful moments that I look forward to every holiday season. As I shared with the advocates, Silent Night in the dark with candles is my favorite festival of light. Even as I love inner light and holding people in the light and anything involving candles, I know we need to work to avoid this parallel notion of darkness as something negative. The last thing we want to do is reinforce those implications. For all those reasons, I love the theme of this service, of affirmatively naming and reminding us that darkness can be something good and healing and helpful. And the question I'll be focusing on briefly is how greater creativity and connection have come to me during hard times. I began writing poems in high school and have continued to maintain this practice as a way to process life's experiences, and that included many years of fertility treatments. At the time I was going through those 10 years, I had a landlord in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, who would write emails about the broken, front light or whatever, and start each email with, "Hey, comrades." And it made me laugh. Back in 2008, I tried to make sense of those experiences, and as part of that, I scribbled this down. When I think of comrades, I think of the others at the fertility clinic. Many years later, I was grateful to become a parent through adoption. And to think the poem I wrote about those challenging infertility experiences 15 years later became the title poem of my first book of poetry, My Dear Comrades. So if the question here is whether tough moments can lead to creativity, in my experience, 1000% yes. Difficult times are ones we never wish on ourselves or others, period. And also sometimes they can have silver linings and break open interesting possibilities. Another time things felt utterly bleak was when I was in a leadership civil rights role in the federal government at HHS, Health and Human Services, in 2016. After being a litigator with EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, in New York for 15 years, I was excited to be in DC and became the Deputy Director for Civil Rights at HHS. I was excited to work on addressing discrimination in a new context, including gender-affirming healthcare, creating greater language access, and more. Alas, when the current president-elect came into office in 2017, after I was in the role for only 6 months, I was devastated. I was grateful to this church for allowing space for federal workers to gather at that time, and that group was a lifeline. But after that difficult time, I was fortunate to have someone reach out to me about not just any job, a dream job, as legal director at a women's rights organization. Out of a really challenging work situation came something good, something hopeful. And I joined teams that went on to sue that administration for its many illegal harms, many times, sometimes successfully. And often those cases were alongside my current employer, Democracy Forward. So now we come to Audre Lorde. Audre Lorde's words have served as a North Star for so many of us. I was lucky to have professors who taught her essays and poems in college, including from her collection, Sister Outsider. Recently, I was excited to learn that Alexis Pauline Gumbs, someone I'm friendly with, just wrote a new biography of Audre Lorde. It's called Survival is a Promise. In the book, Alexis describes the impact of her work as a poet. Audre's students called her by their first name and began to write their own brave poems about child sexual abuse, about Palestinian children who lost their hands to American-made bombs, about grandmothers on stoops, about women who killed their rapists, precise and raw poetry from students who had learned from Audre, who learned, quote, "I don't have to be afraid to share my feelings." Also in this new book, there were many ties with the themes of darkness. Audre Lorde, quote, taught her students to document their scariest dreams and to search them for wisdom that could change them from the inside out, working with the transformative power of darkness. And finally, this story, which was my favorite Alexis book tie-in about darkness. In a forest, only 3% of sunshine reaches down into the understory, where the younger trees are struggling to grow. Plants that will one day replace their mother trees are photosynthesizing in near darkness. So what is a mother tree to do? She feeds the trees beneath her, through their roots as they slowly reach toward the sky. This section went on to talk about how Chicago poet Gwendolyn Brooks opened doors for Audre Lorde to become a published poet, despite all the barriers. And the section ends with Alexis writing, "A mother tree cannot move her branches fast enough to swat away beetles or other parasites that might attack a younger tree in the understory. They have to send their sugar to the root to help them survive the shady years. I love this idea of those baby trees growing in mostly darkness and all the other trees sending them support. So I'm going to read now some poems. A couple of them do mention my family members, my spouse and my daughter, and the ones for my spouse, don't look at her, don't mention them to her, because I will get in trouble. But this was a surprise to me. My daughter's an RE, but she was like, "You're going to read poems about me, right?" So for her, for Satya, you can say, and please do say, your mother read poems about you. I'm going to share a few poems. I attended the Supreme Court oral argument this week in the Scarmetti case about the Tennessee law banning trans youth from accessing gender-affirming health care, such as hormone therapy and puberty blockers. I'm not completely hopeless, but the majority of justices are looking at a law that discriminates on its face and not calling it discrimination. These same medicines are allowed for youth who are not trans, so there's not a general safety issue for these care. On the contrary, gender-affirming healthcare can be life-saving. I wasn't planning to share this poem, but hearing all the trans activists at the rally and hearing Chase Strangio argue in court inspired me to share this one as well. Too pretty. October on the subway, roses at my side, kids being loud. One skinny girl with a cap and a pretty smile gets up to give me her seat and takes this chance to sit on her friend's lap. I read the paper and look over at these girls, so free and easy, they're laughing, laughing. I look at the pink, pink roses and how I say I'm not a romantic and how this whole roses thing is going to ruin my reputation against romance. I watch the girls. I watch the skinny girl in boys' clothes and pretty smile flirt with all the other girls. So free and easy, they're laughing, laughing. And the man next to me, he is also watching, watching. The man next to me, he leans over and says to me, hey miss, that's too pretty to be a boy, right?" As if somehow that thought disgusts him and he wants agreement about his disgust. And me, I'm just relieved. He knows I'm a miss and not a pretty boy, and I just shrug and say nothing because I am afraid. Afraid to say, what does a she look like? What does a boy look like? What does too pretty look like? And what is your problem exactly? And I don't know whether his disgust, he thinks girls who look like boys should be beat up or boys who look like girls should be beat up, because we know they both are. I only know I was relieved. He didn't know my pink, pink roses were for a girl. And I have this safety of passing. And I think to myself, y'all sitting there, laughing, laughing, sitting there on your 6th grade girlfriend's lap, so free and easy, laughing, laughing. Be safe, my handsome girls. Be safe, my pretty boys. Okay, the poetry protocol is you snap your fingers if you like the poem. Thank you. Okay, I got a few more. This is a newer one. It's not in the book. It's about how we try to stay connected, even if we don't know how to do that. I think I was channeling my friend, Dr. Kelsey Crow, who wrote a book called There Is No Good Card for This. This poem is called I Like Your Plant. For the second time ever, I see the storybook witch lady at her patio balcony. The first, the day after Great Granny died. The second, almost 5 months later, the weekend of what would have been Granny's 98th birthday and memorial service. The neighbor has wild white hair going in all directions and a salmon-colored baggy t-shirt with some design I cannot decipher from my stationary bike. As Alex fake yells at me during fake hit and hill spins class, I see her only during my standing climbs. At first, she's stretching both hands to the sky, but then she starts gripping. 5 floors above the ground, she's gripping the railing. I know there are many reasons to grip a railing. I know there are many times I've gripped a railing. She keeps stretching and then gripping. When I go up the fake mountain and Alex fake yells at me on the fake bike, I'm worrying now about the very not fake neighbor. She's closing her eyes. It's like she's gripping and praying. I'm getting more worried each time I come down from each fake hillside. I open the window, hoping the noise of that small movement across the space will be enough. When it's not, from my fake bike, I say, "Good morning," in a medium loud voice, hoping it's enough. It breaks her trance and she looks around, but she does not see me. I'm inside a window, across a concrete courtyard and 2 floors up. As she's looking around, my class ends. I'm not sure what comes next. I notice 2 plants on her patio. One is a small, fiddly fig like mine used to be. I find a pathway forward. I said, "Hi there, I like your plant. I think I have one like that too." She looks up. She says, "Hi. It's growing nicely. It has doubled in size since it arrived." I am late now for getting ready for church, as my shower time was spent with this neighbor. I had no idea what to say, or if to say anything at all to this stranger across the way, this our neighbor. I didn't want to say something as loaded as, "Are you okay?" I didn't want to say, "I'm thinking of S's partner's family member who took his life last week. That's why I couldn't stay with them in Philly." I didn't want to say my friend's spouse, our age, just started hospice this week after 2 years with cancer. I didn't want to say we lost Great Granny this year, and George Youngle too, or that we're celebrating Great Granny's life this afternoon. I didn't want to mention Jen's essays on nervousness and healing and how close the line can be. But I managed to say, "I like your plant. I have one like that too." All right. I got 2 more for you. The last one's very short. Being and belonging, unpacking on the L2 bus. Entering the L2 bus, a meeting in her headphones, the bus driver stops her. Half paying attention, she thinks it's something about her bus fare, but he keeps gesturing her towards him, and so she stops. He says to her, "Hope this isn't offensive, but are you gay?" She gives a complex answer involving phrases like non-binary presenting and queer without checking his box, but he correctly understands the answer as enough of a version of a yes, and he continues his inquiry. He says it's not that he thinks gay people shouldn't get married, it's just he thinks maybe they shouldn't be parents. And some of his gay colleagues back at the bus depot got upset at him for saying that, but what do you think? You wouldn't be mad if I said that, right? My spouse, often much less hot-headed than me, paused and responded, "Where do you think you got that idea? Let's unpack that." He said, "Well, I just think boys should have fathers, don't you think?" And my tomboy spouse in her home with mostly just her mother and grandmother and sister came forward with evidence. She said, "I know a lot of young men just raised by their mamas and grew up to be fine men. I do know this to be true." He seemed to pause, and she continued, "I mean, to be sure, a father might be a nice to have, but there's so many separated families. That's not always the case, right?" And they kept chatting. And then she said she needed to get back to her meeting, pointing to her headphones, her colleagues having heard the entire exchange. And it was not until afterwards, as she was passing by to exit the bus, just across the street from our home, filled with me relearning 8th grade algebra, and our daughter learning how to make the family whole meals from HelloFresh, did she mention this part. "You know, my beautiful wife and I might get a lot of things wrong, but I think we're good parents to our daughter. She's 14. She's in middle school now." And with that, she went to give that bus driver a fist bump. And at that moment, at that bus stop, steps from our home, the bus driver got up from his seat. He unlatched the gate that kept him in his seat. He came forward towards her. He came forward and said, "May I give you a hug?" And when I tell my friends this story, they ask if my wife is some kind of prophet. And I beam because I know many of us like to think we have good hearts, But this one, she has her mother's wild grace, in addition to her own wild patience, too. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And for Satya, I mean, she was referenced in the last poem, but she's 15 now. And she said, make sure you read poems about me. So I'll end with this short one. It's about toothpaste, but I think you'll understand it's about a lot more. Teaching my daughter to recap the toddler toothpaste. Don't push hard. Don't push hard. Don't push so hard. No need to press it so. Just place it gently on top. Let it settle into its place. Only then, gently twist. Not that way. Not that way. The other way. Try one way. Try one way. If it doesn't work, then stop. Then stop. Stop completely. Then try another way. Trust me. Trust me. You will know when it is time to stop turning. Thank you.
I myself won't be a poet until my next life. But this poem that I share with you is, for me, the poem that reflects what Audre Lorde was talking about and the promise and potential in the darkness. Entitled Our Dangerous Sweetness by Amir Rabia. When I hear the news another one of us has been killed, my heart constricts. I reach with a frantic grief towards a soothing balm, difficult to find. And I can't help but think of all the times my own life has been threatened, of all the people I love and their own lives. I'm tired of being afraid to speak my name, to unbind my chest, to be feminine and masculine, to go outside. I'm tired of being afraid of being brown. I'm tired of being afraid of my own existence, of revealing my full self, for fear that if I do, I will be killed. Here, I am the living impossibility, like so many people I love who have the audacity to embrace themselves. Each day, I feel departed souls swirl around me. I feel thousands of hands brushing away my tears. They say, do what you were born to do. To write these words down, to write myself into wholeness, to write myself away from vengeance. They say, listen, and so I listen. For a long time, I listen. And then they say, speak to those who are still here, and so I speak to those of you still here. I speak to say, my dear, beautiful people, each time you break, I break. I break. I break a little more and then unbreak. I am piecing myself back together with the care of a potter's hands. I clay phoenix. I feel the heat of our resurrections burning to glaze our skin into glow. My fire and my kiln are these words, this space, the intimate threads of our connection. My prayer. We remember ourselves as entwined in this struggle. My prayer. We undo the knots we have tied around ourselves. We breathe. We remember can be bound together and free. I write because I feel the pulse of us chanting the names of those who have died, our own names, our essences as holy. I envision us going on to eclipse, building bigger, 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 more luminous, so bright. My beautiful people, our breaking is our making, and if I strip all my other identities away, I am simply a poet who listens to God, to the dead, to the living, to all left behind, to all the places in between. I am simply a poet who writes these words because I believe in us, because I know a faith uncontained by an alphabet. My beautiful people, let us dream towards what we want beyond survival. Let us dream towards loving ourselves till we become love over and over again. My beautiful people, I could taste our honeyed victory. My beautiful people, our dangerous sweetness is our rebellion.
Those were some stunning poems, Sunu. Thank you for sharing your gifts and your witness with us today. So I now invite you, the congregation, to turn your attention to the reflection question on your connection card after listening to the stunning poetry you shared today. And today's reflection question is, how is darkness a place of creativity or possibility for you? As the music plays for the next few minutes, You are invited into this space of contemplation and reflection as you fill out your card. The very first All Souls event I ever attended, even before I came to my first service, was the Young Souls Fall Retreat at Shenandoah River Valley State Park in fall 2018. I knew exactly 0 people, carpooled with complete strangers, and yet instantly knew I had found home. It was clear from the first minute I entered the main lodge that this was a community that tried its best to build trust, honor our individual and collective journeys, and acknowledged its shortcomings. That weekend, nestled in the quiet darkness of the Shenandoah Valley, I began to understand the power of embracing the unknown. I arrived as a stranger, uncertain and vulnerable, but in the shared silence of the campfire and the candid conversations that followed, I saw how that silence and peace could be a space of transformation. As we've heard today, Audre Lorde's words remind us that stillness isn't necessarily a place of fear or discomfort. It's where liberation and creativity can emerge. In the absence of chaos, we are called to lean into trust, reflection, growth, and community. That retreat taught me, among many other things, that in vulnerability we can find strength, and in the unknown we can discover connection. As I reflect on that experience and the countless others I've had at All Souls since, I realize the importance of acknowledging and navigating the stillness, not as something to avoid, but as a necessary part of our collective journey toward love, joy, and community. Together, we create space for healing and renewal, holding one another through good times and bad. As the plates pass you today, consider how this church has held you through good times and bad, and give generously. In the spirit of holding our community, we give half of our offering each month to a different worthy charitable organization, and today's donations will be split with Miriam's Kitchen, which helps individuals obtain the housing, health, and critical resources needed to end chronic homelessness. Their offering will now be collected and graciously received.
Do not be afraid of the darkness. Dark is the rich, fertile soil that cradles the seed, nourishing growth. Do not be afraid. We are born of this magic. It fills our dreams that root, unravel, reweave themselves in the shelter of the deep dark. The dark fills our soul not with despair, but with promise. Dark is the gestation of our deep and knowing self. Dark is the cave where we rest and renew our soul. We are born of the darkness, and each night we return to that womb of our beginnings. Celebrate the darkness, here, now, a time of richness, a time of joy. Amen.
Amen.